Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Good evening and welcome to Plank of the Week. This is the one show where you don't have to worry about judging everything because we do it all for you. And I'm delighted to say that we've selected a very fine panel this evening for your delectation. Mr. Jeremy Kyle, we've got Chloe Dobbs, we've got, of course, Steve N. Allen and Rafe Heydel-Mankoo. Very good evening to all of you. Mr. Kyle, over to you.
This will shock you.
Keir Starmer.
Well, Keir Starmer, it'll shock you. I sort of trolled and thought, well, who can I come up with? I mean, he's won the last year, hasn't he? You know, I keep
What's he done
back,
this week?
Well, you see, you go back to the election when he, Ming Vars didn't say anything, and it was like, it's going to be grown-up politics, and there won't be jobs for the boys, and it'll be this, that, and we're going to smash the gangs.
Country first.
Yeah, country first, smash the gangs. This week, another unbelievably disgusting fact that Labour has admitted will increase the amount of legal aid.
Yes.
Legal aid, ladies and gentlemen, not to you who've paid your taxes, but to illegal migrants. They're going to increase it by a third to £61 million a year. So apart from saying we're going to smash the gangs, we're actually going to make sure that more of his left-wing lawyer human rights mates get more wonga from the British taxpayer to make pathetic excuses for people who shouldn't be here to stay in the United Kingdom whilst we screw the British people who can't even see a doctor.
Absolutely
And that is this week.
Yeah, let's not forget he's also hosted a state visit, hasn't he, with Emmanuel Macron.
I can't have that this week. I'm sorry.
Macron.
I'm just waiting for Mrs. Macron to smack him in the chops again. I want my money back, the 771 million.
We had loads of people. First there's the 700 million odd that we should get back. Also, a lot of people said, would Mrs. Macron mind slapping Starmer and trying to see if you can get anything out of him, as opposed to actually just this monotone.
Think what you could do with that 771 million, though. You could build like 5 prisons. That'd be great. You could throw the foreigners out and put some people in jail.
Good idea.
Increased by 33%. Legal aid to those who are coming to this country illegally is barking mad, and another example of how this plan is...
So it's not really smashing the gangs, as you said, it's more funding the lawyers to keep them in the country, gang.
Chris Philp came up with they said they smashed the gangs, but all they're actually doing is helping them smash the small boats record.
Yeah,
which
absolutely
is true.
Right. Let's have a look at his theme of the week. He put this out laughably, I think it's at the beginning of this week.
I'm putting you first, making Britain fair for you again. Building more affordable houses, fixing the NHS, securing our borders, giving your kids more opportunities, cleaning up our streets, putting more money in your pocket, but most of all, giving people a sense that we're moving forward, so that the pride we all feel for our country grows into a confidence, a determination, a certainty that our very best days lie ahead.
What's he talking about?
How many lies did he just spout in the space of 30 seconds?
None of that is true, right?
And actually, here's the interesting thing, actually in a calm way. When he was being elected during the campaign, and I spent a lot of time in Newcastle, you know that, don't you? He talked about, this is for working people. I don't know anybody from the working class that thinks Labour have done anything for them. Doesn't mention the working people now. Have you noticed? Or growth, that's gone.
No.
That's just window dressing
He
rubbish.
doesn't mention them because he's going to raise their taxes in the autumn. He doesn't want to admit it. Now, they claim that raising the amount of money that they're going to give the asylum seekers and legal aid by 33% is going to help them improve the situation on migration, because they say this will help them clear the backlog.
It won't.
If they've got more legal aid. It won't. And if it does... Even if they can say, oh, we've cleared the backlog, all they've done is rubber-stamped every single person through, not vetted them properly, let them have
This is
a
him
lawyer...
setting himself up with his left-wing human rights mates to get a massive job somewhere in Europe when he's thrown out in 4 years' time. That's what I think. I've always thought that.
And that's what it is. I mean, they should rename the Labour Party the Welfare Party now, because it doesn't represent working people at all. But yeah, this is a bung. I mean, there's a conflict of interest here, I would say, because
it's a bung, isn't it?
His whole career has been one about, human rights, trying to keep our enemies in the country, along with his odious best friend, Hermer, the Attorney General. And he needs to be called out for it.
I absolutely agree with you.
And also he just keeps saying, he puts these videos out about once every 2 or 3 days, and they've got this sort of ridiculous music behind them, and somebody's very carefully edited all these things.
I think it smacks of desperation.
Unusual. Well, he's been doing it ever since he's been in, though. But every time he puts one out, he says, there's about 10 lies in the first, 10 seconds. And unusually there, you saw Rachel Reeves looking lovingly into his eyes instead of bursting into tears. What she does most of the time now.
Couldn't see out of her eyes a week ago.
Well, exactly right. I mean, let's have a look at something else that he does, because he tries to be this kind of chameleon figure, right? I think he goes to bed at night wishing that he was somebody else.
But with whom?
Well, who knows? We can't tell, obviously, because there's been some... No, I can't. This is him doing a podcast earlier on. This is the tough Keir Starmer.
Oh.
I'm a hard enough bastard to find out who it was who said that, so I can have a discussion with him.
This is him sort of faux threatening somebody who may have said something about him.
I'm a hard enough bastard.
I'm a hard enough bastard, he says. Really? Are you? Are you really?
If you have to say it, I don't think you really are.
No.
A pair of boxing gloves and a ring. Who
That's
would
like the guy
Angie Rayner
Have
or
you
Keir
seen the
Starmer?
video of him hitting the boxing bag?
I've seen that.
It's terrible. He would
literally-
lose a fight in 10 seconds.
He couldn't knock the skin
And
off
she'd
a rice
knock him out,
pudding.
wouldn't she?
She
I
would
would,
absolutely.
he'd be
She would tear his hair.
But for me, just the reason that I've nominated him for the 83rd week on the bounces, and I say it every single week, I don't think that the people around him can have any impact. I don't think he's mentally. I just don't think he has antennae politics. I just don't think he gets
well,
it.
after last week, he doesn't have any.
message
He
does
doesn't
that
have any
send?
power anymore.
No.
Nobody does
Gone.
what he says. They'll just say, "No, we're not doing that," and he goes, "Okay, then. I'm a hard bastard. You know, I really am. I'm really hard." Yeah, all right.
I might replace the word hard with useless.
Yeah, useless bastard is much more apt, actually. Very good. Chloe, over to you. Zara Sultana.
Yes, Zara Sultana definitely has been quite a plank this week.
She really has.
Well, on Thursday night, she put out a statement announcing that her and Jeremy Corbyn are going to be co-leading a new party. But the funny thing is,
they are.
Jeremy Corbyn hadn't actually agreed to this. And the way this went down was absolutely hilarious.
Usual socialists.
So a bunch of comrades, as they call themselves on their WhatsApp chat, had a Zoom call where they voted on whether the party would be co-led or led by Jeremy Corbyn.
Right.
Jeremy Corbyn believes co-leaders, it doesn't work. You need to have one figurehead, right?
Well,
so he didn't vote in
It's very
favour of this.
Maoist on that front, I think.
But
isn't it?
the co-leading, the vote for co-leading won. Even though Jeremy Corbyn didn't vote for it,
So he
they
didn't
said
recommend it.
they went, oh, well, our vote won. Therefore, that means we can announce that Jeremy Corbyn and Zara Sultana are leading the party.
Right.
Jeremy Corbyn was furious. Him and his wife, after this statement went out, were texting Zara Sultana, like, what the heck is going on?
Right.
Can you take this down? And she just ghosted them and left it up. And then in this group chat, all of Corbyn's allies are messaging saying, what on earth is going on? You have
What a
betrayed
shambles.
Jeremy and done this behind his back without his permission. How disrespectful. And they just don't care. But Jeremy Corbyn, he didn't want to go online and cause a load of, damage the whole prospect of a new party by saying, I've got nothing to do with this. So he just kept quiet and then sort of quietly agreed to it later.
There's something very strange about Jeremy
This was
Corbyn,
one
isn't
of the
there?
few
Well, it's
cases
outrageous.
where I've actually feel sorry for Jeremy Corbyn.
I never thought I'd say this,
Yeah.
but with the shambles that we've got, just hear me out before you attack me,
All
right? I disagree with everything that Jeremy Corbyn believes in, vehemently. But at least when he stood in an election, you knew what you were getting, he didn't deviate, and he got battered and he walked away. The one we've got now, you haven't got a clue
Well, let's
what
not
the man
forget.
thinks.
Let's
Do you know
not
what I mean?
forget.
At
Keir
least you knew.
Starmer. Keir Starmer wanted Jeremy Corbyn to be Prime Minister. He said it when he was his friend. Do you remember that?
Yeah, and then we was questioned about it later. It's like, Frenchman, maybe
not really.
we met once.
Yeah.
That kind of backed it
who?
out, didn't he?
Yeah, who are you talking about? I mean, but that's typical of the left, though, isn't it? So somebody votes you in to do something, but you don't want to do it. So you don't do it, and instead of standing down, you pretend that you want to do it.
Who is Zara Sultana?
Well, she's
always
she's a
raising
Labour.
things,
She's
isn't
a
she?
Labour MP, I think, for somewhere in Birmingham.
So she lost the whip in July
She did.
last year.
Yeah.
She's always raising things, isn't she?
But the line
she-
coming
And
out...
I believe over the
some people
two-child
think she's
benefit
nuts.
cap. She never got her whip reinstated.
she
She
wouldn't if she
believes
was a
because
nut.
she was so outspoken about Palestine.
Right.
And then when there was the debate on prescribing Palestine action, she stood up in the chamber and said, "We are all Palestine,
We're all Palestine.
action."
And then who was the guy? Because I don't know.
He
who
said,
it
"No,
was.
we're not."
The disembodied voice went, "No, we're not." It's like something like Walking with Wise. Sorry, it's one for the teenagers.
But the line coming out from Corbyn's friends was that he was furious and bewildered by all of this. And I thought, well, how can you tell? He's spent his whole life being furious and bewildered about everything.
I used to think it was hilarious.
And then, of course, people are trying to come up with a name for this new party that they're forming, and I've seen several of them. But the one I like is the new anti-Zionist Independence Party, or Nazi Party for short.
Yeah, right, that's always good. There's also this, which you may have seen as well, a new name for the party: Vote Jezbollah. But I mean, I used to love watching in the mornings when he was leader of the opposition, and he would get out of his house. The garden was always really overgrown, badly overgrown, and he'd come out of his house, storming through the gate, storming past the photographers, as if he was like really angry with them, and he'd never seen them before. But he saw them every day because they were standing there waiting to take his picture. Then he'd get into the car and slam the car door really hard. He did it every
The
single
only
morning.
leader that never had security outside his house because nobody would stand in that area and guard it.
No,
It was just
exactly.
absolutely not doing it.
Absolutely right. Emily Thornberry, we've got. This is, you might remember an incident that happened a while back where...
Dame Emily.
Dame Emily goes to high-five her, but unfortunately puts his hand on her breast.
Brilliant.
That's brilliant.
I mean,
Absolutely
you can't even get that right. Anyway, Steve and Alan, over to you. Motability.
Yeah, this Motability scheme, you know, this is where you can get a much reduced car if you have the kind of condition or disability that means you require a car.
Yeah.
And they've looked at some of the conditions that qualify for it, and that includes the severe condition of constipation.
Yeah.
There are 40 people who've got constipation. Now, I think they've made an error there. It's the wrong way around, isn't it?
Yeah.
Diarrhea, I'll give you a car, because you need to get home quickly.
Yeah.
Constipation.
Worked for Alex Ferguson.
You could use a train with constipation because you won't have to use the train toilets.
No,
Only time I ever
doesn't
go.
matter if they're out of order.
Yeah, the only time I go on a train is I've got to have like a block of cheese and 3 Imodium, and I'm willing to do it. Other ones on there, depression. Depression, these are the people who might have the thoughts, goodbye, cruel world,
Yeah.
we're giving them a car.
Yeah.
Aim that thing at me. People with alcohol problems,
Yeah,
again,
that's a good idea.
Give them cars so that
Yeah.
there are more accidents, so that more people then require the Motability scheme, I imagine. Failure to thrive is a condition.
What is that?
Why do I not have a car yet?
Yeah.
I've clearly failed to thrive.
We'll
Where's my
give
free
you
car?
one.
Yeah. And what
And
about...
obesity makes the list. Of course it does. The
Yeah.
one thing that could be cured by walking, have a car.
Yeah, I know.
Squeeze you in, Mrs.
Have a big
Jones.
car.
We've got
The
you.
weirdest thing about the
Car.
Motability organisation is that apparently 1 in every 5 new cars that are sold in this country are now sold through Motability.
It's crazy.
Because-
Why can't we just give them a free bus pass at most?
Well, do you know, this is the problem. You know, we live in this society now where people expect to be given stuff. Because we had a caller, I think it was last week, who said, well, I need a car. In fact, because they stopped giving me a bus pass. And it's like, well, why don't you just pay to go on the bus then? Oh, no, I need a car now because obviously they withdrew my bus pass.
I'd like to point out
By
to
the
the
local
camera,
council.
as of Thursday, I have a senior rail card.
Oh, very nice.
You should apply for one of these free cars.
You
There's
save a
probably
lot of money
something
with
you've
one
got.
of those.
Ingrown
it
toenail?
does make you laugh, doesn't it? You know, you're depressed, but have a car then. Nothing. Like, I've achieved nothing, have a car then.
But
Be
there's
fat,
tennis
have a car.
elbows on the list, by the way. Tennis elbow, because, you know,
Tennis elbow?
walking requires a lot of elbow. Driving does.
Oh,
Literally,
seriously,
it's
I
hard
mean,
for you.
I know that somebody may argue with me about the medical surety of this, but I thought constipation was not really a condition that you have forever.
You're looking at me because you want me to give you my story.
No, I don't.
Shall-
No, I don't.
Okay.
This is a very clean show. I don't want to hear
No,
anything.
but what I've got now.
Yeah, it's up to you.
I've got Crohn's disease,
Yeah.
right, which you were very sweet about the other week. I think there's more likelihood I'd need to get to a bleeding toilet,
right.
like you said,
But
than a
this is the
bloke that's
point. But
constipated.
people don't get constipated forever, do they? I mean, you get constipated for a while, and then
I
you
don't
get
know.
unconstipated.
But it's
I don't
also
think
the-
you
I'd
can
love
forever.
to be
That's what did for Elvis in the end, wasn't it? That's why he was on that toilet for a while.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
But it's
Well,
also
probably
the type of
48
car they're
hamburgers
getting.
you'd eat the same morning. You know.
They're giving them BMWs and Mercedes.
They're not.
Do you remember
Yeah.
in the 1970s and 80s,
Yeah.
what happened to the Robin Reliant, you know?
Yeah.
A 3-wheeler with
Yeah.
one of those weird sticks instead
Yeah.
of a steering
And
wheel.
the blue
That's
thing.
what they were
The
giving
blue
people, I
thing.
guarantee
Tip
you.
over all the
If they
time.
were giving 3-wheel Robin Reliants out, I guarantee you the number of them that were
Right.
being ordered would go down dramatically.
Or give them a smart car or something smart. I mean, it's just the whole
Fat
thing
people
is-
wouldn't get in there, would
That's
they?
true.
We'll
Well,
get you in, Mrs.
Well,
Jones.
you can get when you can get in the car, you can have it. There you go.
Give them all a Toyota Prius like all the Uber drivers.
What?
Just give them all a Toyota Prius like all the Uber drivers.
Yeah, exactly.
Those aren't cool to drive around.
No.
Well, we're also meant
Or
to be
Honda
hating
Jazz.
drivers, aren't we? We hate the car.
Yeah.
The car's ruining the planet.
Yeah.
Here, have a free car.
Have a
We can
free
pick
car,
side.
yeah.
And
Millions of
surely, if you've got these problems, be it a mental or a physical issue, it's much safer for you to be on a train. Like, if you, let's say you're an obese person who's got a free car, surely it's better to have a heart attack on a train where you're not driving the train
You just
and there are
tuned in,
people
what?
around to help you.
Yeah.
Health advice.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Best
Then
place
have a heart attack whilst driving a car and crashing, or being an alcoholic
Yeah.
with a free car
Yeah.
and crashing it into other
Yeah,
people
that
whilst you're
doesn't
drunk.
sound like a great idea.
Doesn't
does it?
sound like a good policy at all.
Rafe, over to you.
Well, last Saturday was one of those days where we got to see the left eating itself, and what a beautiful sight it was. It was a difficult day for if you're a virtue-signalling member of the Wokarati, because you had 2 marches in London. You had the Palestine Action Rally,
Right.
and then you had the Pride Parade. Which do you choose? What a dilemma for
Can you
them
do
to go
both?
through.
Can you do both?
But one
Where's
group,
Palestine? Surely.
one group of privileged misfits, their youth demand, decided to solve the problem by combining the two. So
Yeah.
they went bedecked in pro-Palestine paraphernalia and then glued themselves to the road in front of the Pride Parade march, halting the
Okay, they
whole
are.
thing. There you can see them. They're protesting Cisco, one of the corporations sponsoring Pride, which they say is pink-washing itself, a new term,
Oh, yeah.
to get away
That
from
is
its
a new
Israeli connections. And you would have thought, if your parade has been stopped, that you would be very angry and annoyed by this. But a huge swathe of the attendees there were cheering them, waving the Palestinian flags. And I thought, my gosh, do you not understand? Pride was all about gay rights, and you're waving a flag of a people that would throw you off a building rather than talk to you.
I wasn't joking about queer. There is an organisation called Queers for Palestine who don't seem to have a clue about what would happen to them if they ever went to Palestine or to Gaza.
It's from the makers of Turkeys for Christmas. It's
it really is.
Yeah.
But there's one place in the Middle East that does have Pride, because Pride is banned all throughout the Middle East, except where, perhaps? Israel. Tel Aviv has one of the world's biggest gay prides.
Why don't any of those idiots know what you just said to be the truth?
Yeah.
It's extraordinary how people
They
nowadays...
just don't want to know, though.
Activists,
they don't want to know.
I don't think they care. They just jump onto a bandwagon.
And you said they didn't know which one,
cool.
which sort of, march to choose to go on. But Youth Demand specifically, as part of their sort of articles of association, are for a free Palestine. They're also against climate change. And they actually say it in the same sentence, like it's two things that sort of somehow
tiring,
welded together. Yeah,
I think it's tiring.
It really
There's
is.
always got to be something that they attach themselves to, and I never believe that they genuinely. You made a really good point. You said it's just what's cool.
You literally attach themselves to as well.
Yeah, they lost interest in Ukraine as soon as that wasn't cool anymore. Then they're all. I mean, look at Greta Thunberg devotes her whole life to fighting climate change, and then all of a sudden, Palestine's trending,
but
and
she
it doesn't
lives down
matter
near
anymore.
me on the fossil on the Jurassic Coast, which in itself is completely and utterly ironic.
It's ridiculous. Now, you'll like this because we've managed to get a clip of one of these people getting arrested.
Good.
And it might not surprise you to know what the name of this person is, but let's have a look at this first.
Free Palestine! We will never stop until Palestine is free! Cisco does not belong in Pride! Free Palestine!
You should just cart her off to Broadmoor, shouldn't they? Just lock her up and put her in a straitjacket. Her name, Monday Malachi Rosenfeld.
She looks vicious.
Yeah.
She can probably get a free card.
I feel like Rosenfeld.
Yes,
Rosenfeld.
I'm sitting here. I could be missing the point. That's quite a Jewish name.
I think it sounds like a Jewish name, yeah. Well, that would be probably why. But Monday? I mean, I don't know if she has a different name for each day of the week.
What was that, the day her parents conceived her?
Maybe.
If you've got Queers for Palestine, I think Jews for Palestine is pretty much the same thing.
I mean, I think there is something like that. There is
gay Jews for Palestine. There's a group I want to see.
That's the group.
Born on a Monday. Gay,
Not a happy Monday, that's true. Right, coming up, I'm going to be talking about a train company. You're going to be talking about another member of the government.
Surprisingly.
And a bloke called Madder. Don't ask me why. Coming up, it's more from Plank of the Week.
Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Welcome back to Plank of the Week. It's my turn now, my first nomination of the week, and it is Thames Link, the train company. Some people may travel on it on a regular basis. It goes all the way from, I think, Bedford through London down to Brighton, doesn't it? And they've just relaunched themselves, similar to Jaguar, just the other week.
No trains.
Well, they haven't actually done away with any of the trains, but they've been accused of going a bit woke. Have a look at this for their latest advert.
See it, slay it, sorted. Click your heels, let's get transported. See it, slay it, sorted. On Thames Link trains, we're all supported. See it, slay it, sorted. Click your heels, let's get transported. Grab your fans and make them clap, but keep it safe, stay off the track. Get on safely, stay behind the yellow line, and don't rush, babe, you'll make it on time. Mind the gap and mind the door. We're nearly there, you better check your contour. Tickets, please, stay safe, have fun. It's time to march in 3, 2, 1. If it don't look right, we've got a fix. 61016. If it don't look right, we've got a fix. 61016. See it, slay it, sorted. On Thames Link trains, we're all supported. See it, slay it, sorted. Click your heels, let's get transported. See it, slay it, sorted. 61016. See it, slay it, sorted. 61016. See it.
I, if I was going on Thames Link, would be getting a train, not going to a drag show. What the hell is wrong?
I know.
What is wrong with...
And of course...
Look at what Jaguar, they lost 97% of their bloody sales.
Yeah.
Go woke, go break.
It's a train company, so they don't want people. This is what I've worked out. They don't want passengers. Anything to get people off the train seems to be a step in the right direction.
Also, a lot of the time, if you travel on these commuter-type trains, as I used to, I don't anymore, you're literally sort of like this next to somebody. You're not dancing about with a drag queen.
No.
You know, there is literally no room on the bleeding train. You can't even get on the train.
That is absolutely about what they think ticks diversity boxes and will absolutely destroy still further any chance of anybody going on Thames Link.
And also
I think there is a trans train somewhere that was painted with the trans flag.
The overground train is covered in pride colours, and it's got pictures of staff on it that have their pronouns on their badges. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But anyway,
and when is Pride? Isn't it Pride Month? It's June, isn't it?
It's June, but they've decided to do Pride weekend in July. They've dragged it out. But
So
I
you
just
did
want to
the
point out.
You missed that. That was very good. Dragged it out. You didn't even know.
We're
all right on it.
But that saying, see it, say it, sorted, is meant to be for when you call British Transport Police to say, there's a guy in a suicide vest here.
Right.
I'm not going to call up British Transport Police and say, hi, there's a guy with a bomb, I'd like to see it, slay it, sorted.
Slay
what
it as well. I mean, come on. I mean, it's ridiculous.
But I called that number and said, there's a dude here who seems to be dressed like a big lady who's singing and dancing, and I'm trying to use this darn train. I mean, if you saw that on a train, you think, all right, that's the number for it. Something's not right about this.
Well, there's enough knife crime and murder on the trains without bringing slaying into it as well, you know? They don't need any encouragement.
Very true.
It's unbelievable, though. And I mean, I don't understand.
They think that's going to work.
I don't understand what the point of it is. I mean, it's just because they want to be somehow impressing a very small minority of the country. You know, they seem to.
It does go to Brighton, that train, though.
It does go to Brighton.
It goes
Do you think if they asked
Cross,
the Transport Minister, Nick Farage,
like
do you think she'd know where that train went from and to?
No, I'm sure they wouldn't. No, absolutely right. Incredible. Jeremy Kyle, Angela Rayner.
Yeah, and our Anne shooting.
Tory scum.
Yeah, Tory scum. I'm on manoeuvres. I'm going to move my boyfriend in with me. I'm going to get number 10, Starmer's history. And them Tory boys will have a fight on their hands.
Do you think she's got some tickets to Oasis?
I've got no idea, but I'll tell you, she needs to just be quiet, really, because I think Starmer's killing himself, but she started to come forward with even more. I mean, if she became the Prime Minister, Labour would never be I don't think they will ever be re-elected again for years. She decided the next best thing to do, we've got workers' rights, where, you know, I'm feeling anxious, you can have 6 months off. She's going to censor workplace banter. Now, Dobby, you'd be good on this, right? Because she's going to put diversity officers into workplaces to ensure that people don't say and do things that are offensive. Now, we are old enough, you are not, you've already told me I'm 60 or 25, we are old enough to banter was OK. Now I'm too scared to fart. Now if I don't know whether there's...
Well, there's a couple of
That's not why you're scared.
There's a couple of reasons. That's painfully because I'll probably follow through. But in all essence, I don't know whether to open the door for a woman, I don't know to let her out of a lift, I can't go, all right, sweetheart, nobody can tell a joke about anything anymore, help me out.
You do have to let them out of a lift if they want to leave, honestly.
I'm not Boy George, am I? Allegedly,
if the door's open, you have to let them out.
But I do think men of our age, you're both sort of 40, are you? To be fair,
the ballpark.
Around about.
It is becoming, for Michael and I, increasingly difficult to know what to do. Seriously.
I am so glad that I'm a woman and not a man, because I would be absolutely terrified if I was a man. You are damned if you do, damned if you don't.
I know.
So diversity officers in the workplace looking over their shoulders at you to the point where I think you would not. You know, on my show, Jodie's amazing. She's at Liverpool girl. All right, sweetheart, can I grab a tea? She'd be absolutely great with that because she'd answer back. Yeah. But that could have me in trouble. What am I supposed to say? And Ange wants us all policed.
Well, there are people. Sorry, Rafe, go on.
And it goes even further, right? There are real connotations here for politics as well, because this is the public house, right? The pubs. These used to be hotbeds of people meeting and discussing things. My think tank, New Culture Forum, we've got 30 branches across the country, and we hire pub spaces to have our events where people can come and talk freely, which perhaps they couldn't talk to their co-workers or their family about. Now, if one of the people serving in that bar has an issue with what we're saying, we're closed down. So this is a really sinister stifling of speech.
Right.
There could be a diversity officer.
Well, I mean, I kid you not, but, you know, there have been times when people have complained about things that they've seen happening in, you know, various different scenarios when they weren't involved in them, you know, and suddenly there's an HR complaint, and suddenly, you know, everybody's in trouble and there's a big investigation and it wastes everybody's time. It's completely ludicrous.
And the risk about this, you know, this banter ban, if the bar staff hear things they don't like. I do loads of stand-up gigs in pubs. Yeah. I've got about 2 minutes worth of material left now because I daren't do half of it because, you know...
And actually, this is my most genuine. As a comedian... We used to growing up, you could tell an Irish joke, you can't do anything, you upset everybody, not anybody I know, but that must be really difficult.
Yeah, I mean, there's not been a case of it happening yet, but up in Edinburgh, if you do a show and the bar staff or the venue staff don't like it, there have been cases the show's been shut down. Right. That's terrifying because then it becomes a free speech thing, isn't it? You have to, if you don't like the comedian, don't go and see the comedian. Yeah. But don't shut down the show.
Also, it gives power to these groups like Youth Demand, you know, who can sometimes threaten theatres and threaten, you know, organisations and say, if you put that
What about free choice of being able to, you know, if somebody was offended by something I would say, then they would raise it. But it's not that. It's other people jumping in because they see it as, well, Angela Rayner, her right to police what people... I think we're saying to people, you're not intelligent enough to decide whether it's offensive or not. We'll do it for you.
Yeah, we'll have a look at what Angela Rayner said about wanting to become Prime Minister.
People spreading ridiculous rumours that I'm trying to go for the top job. I do not want the top job. I do not want to be Prime Minister. I am not interested in Eric Keir's job.
Very good. That's Intel Lady, I think she's called. Very good. Right, Chloe, over to you. Madapasa.
Madapasa.
Which sounds like a dish that you might get in some kind of Kashmiri restaurant.
Sounds like a dish, but it's not. It is the nickname that a migrant goes by. This is the migrant who infamously... put out death threats to Nigel Farage. He put out those videos before he was going to cross the channel, saying, I'm about to cross to England and I'm going to, boom, kill Nigel Farage.
He's quite a bad guy, this guy, isn't he?
Yeah, and he's got this he's got this gun tattooed across his face. It doesn't look like the kind of guy you want to mess with. He came across the channel and then he was then put in prison. So he's sat in Wandsworth, which probably doesn't have the best reputation for security, given Daniel Khalif managed to escape it.
Right, and then under a lorry.
Stupidly, I've never got this, but I've just got to drop this in, and then sat outside the same prison for 5 days until he was found.
Yes.
He didn't go anywhere.
No.
That's right. He try and go abroad to run away. No, he was about half a mile away on a park bench outside Wandsworth.
And he was laughing when they caught him because he thought it was hilarious. He's cancer. But anyways, with the poor security at Wandsworth Prison, Madapasa has managed to smuggle in a phone, and he's been
of course he has.
Not just using it secretly, but live streaming on TikTok. Here you go. Inside his prison cell. He's been showing himself banging on the doors of himself, feeding the birds outside the window. Does he not realise he's going to get in trouble for this?
But, I don't think he cares.
There we go. He's having a fight against. He's preparing for his fight against Farage when he gets let out for human rights reasons.
Did you see the story this week that the chief inspector of prisons admitted that it's 57 grand to keep a prisoner, and that the criminal networks are using this what's 3 words, something on WhatsApp, right? Yeah. They're now getting drugs, knives, food, anything delivered to their cell window. Yeah. Because they can do it within 3 foot. Yeah. On a drone. You could block the windows up. This does my head in. This piece of crap shouldn't be in this country.
You get those what 3 words, they all sound like the real names of some protester. Yeah. It's like Monday something. That's how you spot them down.
Monday Madapasa.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Also, how does he get on TikTok? How do these people, if you're a criminal, you shouldn't be able to have a TikTok account in prison, should you?
Well, he's clearly smuggled it up his bum or something.
Well, this is the thing I don't get, right? When people used to smuggle phones into prisons at the bottom, they were always the small little phones.
At the bottom, we're back there again.
Nature's pocket. Nature's pocket. In your condition, don't try it. You'll never see the phone again.
But I'd lose signal.
It's not the phone that hurts, it's the charge that leaves them off.
Very much. It's sideways.
But this is because the prisons in this country,
no joke, I mean, the prisons in this country are an absolute shambles, aren't they? We've got too many foreign prisons in them. They're run apparently by Islamist gangs inside the prison.
And who'd actually want to work in one?
I can't imagine anybody wanting to work in one. I was told that they're, initially were refused the right to wear stab vests because quite a lot of prison officers have been stabbed as well. Yeah. And the reason they're not allowed to wear stab vests is because it might look a bit adversarial to the prisoners. Yeah.
Oh, so the stabbing's not that.
No, the stabbing's not the problem. No, exactly. It's a bit like when people were talking about 7/7. The most dangerous people were those who wish to divide us. Not the people who are actually blowing us up. Unfortunately, absolutely unbelievable. So what have we got here? We've got Humza Useless, not falling off his scooter, but saying why you shouldn't vote for reform.
Nigel Farage is on track to become Prime Minister of the UK. This isn't satire, it's a warning. Reform is the party that wants to scrap net zero, deport refugees, and erase multiculturalism. Their manifesto reads like a WhatsApp rant. If we don't speak up now, we'll wake up in Farage's Britain.
Yeah,
sounds like a great film.
Very good. I mean, they should make that campaign video because he's actually saying all the right things, isn't he? He's saying, they want to chuck refugees out of the country.
Can we also remember how utterly crap at the job he was?
Yeah. Well, not only that,
he can't even ride a scooter.
Since he said that they're projected to win 270 votes, there's been a second poll, and it's now 295 seats they're going to get. So he's actually helped them out. And also, small matter of democracy, Humza Useless. The reason they're going to be so successful is because people are going to vote for them. because they quite like what they say.
They should put Jerusalem backtrack to that video. A couple of Union flags in the corner. I think that's a very good campaign video.
Very good.
Absolutely. Cancel net zero. The whole panel went, yep. Deport foreign criminals. Yep. And look at the fact that multiculturalism hasn't succeeded in the school problem. What is somebody like that even talking about?
Why does he think they're doing so well in the polls? It's because everybody likes them, because they want those things. That's the point.
Why do you think you lost? Because nobody liked you.
Coming up next, we're going to have a certain mayor who gets on quite a lot, and a Labour MP who's been trying to claim for some expenses he shouldn't have. It's all coming up next on Plank of the Week.
Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Welcome back to Plank of the Week. It's Steve's turn. Steve and Alan, who have you got for us?
I'm going to go for Sean Woodcock.
Oh, yes.
Who's an MP who's the MP for Banbury, in case you're interested, who's been making some claims, some expenses. Oh, not the expenses scandal again.
It's come back.
Sadly, he's not quite as impressive as the Duck House's moat-style ones.
Right.
He claimed for some luxury bedding, expensive luxury bedding.
Very nice.
And all its brushed cotton bed sheets and a tube of Magnolia shower cream. Now, you shouldn't...
That worries me. The Magnolia shower cream.
Here's the thing, right?
Why is it Magnolia?
Because it's slightly off-white. It makes the space look more, spacious. I don't understand why you would put this on a claims form, because people then know that you do this.
Yes.
If I were enjoying lathering up in some lady soap, I'd keep that to myself.
I would.
Do you know what I mean?
Maybe it was a gift. Maybe he's buying it for somebody else.
Can we go back to it? What is it? It was soap, not lube.
Well, do you know what? Anything's lube if you try hard enough. I
bet you that.
I will checks in the post.
No,
But he's hardly the man of the people. He's a Labour MP who's buying these fancy stuff and we're paying for it.
I think this guy has taste. I can't stand if you go to someone's house and all they've got in the shower is...
Why are you having a shower in someone else's house?
The little mint shower gel.
Yeah, but why are you having a shower in
tingles?
somebody else's house?
Huh?
Why are you having a shower in somebody else's house? Or are you just poking around?
Just poking around.
Oh, just poking around. Do you open the cabinet as well to see what drugs there are?
Yeah, you should. You should always check people's fridges, check their showers, and see if they've got taste.
Wow.
Are you single?
Yeah.
Might stay like that for a while.
But the other thing that he also ordered was some Egyptian cotton pillowcases. I understand, and they're very expensive.
See, this guy sounds great. I'd date him.
Yeah, but we shouldn't be paying for it.
Gel,
Don't put this on your
sheets.
expenses. This is not our job. It's not as if they've got a busy job.
Did you see his suit? I'd have bought a new suit.
Yeah, I should have spent the money on a new suit. That's true.
I've got 13 down. I wasn't sure about 12 across.
But also, he said apparently in his defence that the reason he put these claims in was that he'd asked somebody. Yeah. So somebody had given him the wrong advice inside the House of Commons, right?
But that's not an excuse, is that you're in charge of stuff now. You're an elected representative. Yeah. Pay attention to the rules. Otherwise, we're like, oh, you know what?
I owned a house in Banbury once.
Did you?
Yeah, I did, yeah.
Were you cross?
What kind of sheets did you...
Sorry?
What kind of sheets did you have?
I don't remember.
Never any Magnolia shower gel? Magnolia shower gel?
Never had Magnolia shower gel, either as shower gel or lube in my life.
Very good.
Right?
Glad to hear
I bet you
it.
have the little mint one.
I use carbolic soap myself.
Yeah. I'm quite posh. I used Aventis Creed shower gel.
Oh, that's nice. I didn't know you could get that. I bet that's expensive. You wouldn't see any MPs claiming they haven't got enough style to claim that, have they? But you'd think after all of the kerfuffle about MPs' expenses, they would know. Because remember, I mean, my favourite still, we might as well go down this rich vein of comedy, was Jackie Smith. Do you remember Jackie Smith, who was then the Home Secretary, and her husband was claiming for porn films that he was watching while she was away in London, staying at her sister's house, which she claimed to be a second home, so that she could get the mortgage paid.
I don't actually feel sorry for many politicians. No. There she was as the Home Secretary. Her husband's at home, expensing porn while she's chiming on.
And also an entire barbecue set she charged for, and she kept flipping because they used to flip the houses. So
not the burgers.
Yeah, no, not the burgers. Very good. You'd get the.
He's on a roll.
You get a load of claims over here. You get a load of claims over here because that'd be your second home, and then you go, no, that's not my second home. This is my second home. Then you claim for that one as well. Televisions, wallpaper.
You know when the British people, the expensive thing happened, and people said we'll never ever see politics as lower as that.
Yeah.
Total. It's even worse.
I know, it is actually.
That's how bad it is.
It is bad.
That was back in the day when you used to get 5 minutes of free porn before you had to pay for the channel, didn't you?
Yeah, that's
Which is ample.
Yeah.
I think at that point, nobody says...
Especially if you've got the Magnolia...
At that point, nobody says anything, and we all look at Steve N. Allen and go, really?
Yeah. Well, he's the one that travels around in all these cheap hotels. Anyway...
Can't use the mint one for that.
Rafe, over to you.
Well, I don't know if you travel on the tube very often, but if you went onto the Bakerloo line or the Central line, you'd be forgiven for thinking you were being transported to New York subway circa 1980.
Yeah.
Graffiti's plastered all over the tube trains. And this all happened very quickly, and people must be wondering, how did this come to be? Well, if I told you that it was because a group of very polite, well-spoken young men were roaming around the tube, graffitiing, and then videoing themselves removing the graffiti, you'd think I'm mad. But that's what Sadiq Khan and his transport chief are claiming, essentially, that most of the graffiti we've been seeing has been put on there by do-gooders and taking it off. Whereas, of course, we know, quite frankly, it's not there. We know that Sadiq Khan is desperately trying to get more money from the government. And one of the ways you do that is by running down the system and making it look unsafe, as it is.
He's been doing that for years.
But it's a national embarrassment, as is Sadiq Khan himself. And this has all come out now because we can really see the video footage where there's clearly nothing to do with these well-meaning people. It's a complete dereliction of duty, and we're paying £750 million in London on a multi-year clean-up operation, and it's going nowhere.
Wasn't there a story this week as well about the number of people at TfL, Transport for London, who are paid more than £100,000 a year? And I think it's some ridiculous number, like 50 or 60 people.
Well, the transport chief gets £600,000 a year.
It's unbelievable, isn't it? Imagine getting
and
that.
they're also paying a load of money to have members of staff who are supposed to remove the graffiti. But they're probably
that's the 750
Well, we
million.
saw that video of one of the tube drivers just watching Netflix. That's probably what the graffiti lot are doing. They're just sat there in the middle of the night.
But it's curious they're only on those two lines, though, because it's not all over the
There's no CCTV on those two lines.
Oh, is that what it is?
And they're the oldest trains, and so I think Khan wants to get a new fleet of trains in. So if I don't clean them and make them look as shoddy as possible...
Well, apparently he can't, but he's already trying to find ways to change that, because I think he wants the job for life. If he can't, he actually believes that he can be the next Prime Minister. I think he thinks that if Starmer
Between
collapses,
him and Andy Burnham.
God, I am leaving the country if he becomes Prime Minister.
Oh,
I mean, I can't
God.
believe we knighted this man.
I know.
I mean, did you see the video of Susan Hall asking Sadiq Khan about the grooming gangs the other day?
Well,
and he's just like, oh, what are you talking about? I think you have to define grooming gangs.
He was waiting for her to say the word Pakistan. That was what he was waiting for. But let's have a look. We've got him responding to Susan Hall about something else, I think.
We've got frustrated commuters because they can see everybody cheating the system. They're sitting there surrounded by graffiti on many occasions. And I must say, you will have seen the fantastic video from Looking for Growth with people that have actually tried to clean up the underground because they don't want to be surrounded by it.
By condoning that behaviour, she's allowing criminals to get away with it.
So he's against people cleaning up them.
He's awful, isn't he?
He is dreadful. Because he hates you just because you didn't vote for him. I mean, that's his entire shtick.
I agree with you.
I don't know how he goes to sleep at night knowing that knife crime is up, I believe, 40% under his watch, and he's busy talking about pride and whatever else.
And he
renaming the lines,
police.
and he thinks he's some kind of hero.
I know.
I mean, remember when he had that little joke with the king? He's like, oh, we joke to see who works harder. Sadiq Khan, you've never lifted a finger in your life.
No. Can I say something that will be unpopular as a fervent royalist whose father worked for the royal family and who has always supported the royal family? The king really hacked me off this week when he said there's no borders between the United Kingdom and France.
He has.
I made that public, and I'm a massive royalist. That's
I did
absolutely outrageous.
I did consider nominating him for Plank of the Week.
I think that's absolutely outrageous.
We could give him a special mention. I also...
Not even politically, though. Like, geographically, there's a big bit of water there.
No.
It feels like of all the places you can spot a border.
King's thinking, and I really am.
But you know
worried.
what really hacked me off was when he referred to the boat people, the boat migrants, as irregular migrants. He used that woke phrase, irregular migrants.
You know
and
the
so did
Tories
Starmer.
brought in that term.
I know.
They're the ones.
Well, it was actually the civil
changed
service. It was civil service who actually invented
It's worried me a
it.
bit, the king getting involved like that.
Yeah.
Irregular to sound like they're not eating enough fibre, don't it?
It does sound
they're
like
coming
that.
over here for the
That's, I mean, the other
Not
thing
something I need.
The other thing that somebody pointed out is it's all very well if he doesn't think we've got any borders, then we haven't really got a kingdom. In which case, we don't really need a king. Goodbye.
Mate, I was raging yesterday about it. I thought it was.
I know. Absolutely shocking. Anyway, we're nearly at the end. How can we nearly be at the end of the show? There's one more nomination to come, a special mention coming up as well, and of course the winner of Plank of the Week.
Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Welcome back to Plank of the Week. We are in the final furlong, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to pick the winner. First of all, though, I've got one more nomination, but also I've got a special mention from and this is not part of 10 planks this week, but it's somebody called James Gunn. I don't know if you've heard of James Gunn. I hadn't.
Right.
He's the Superman director, the new movie Superman, which has come out now. And basically, he's been talking about how great the film is and how wonderful it is, but he's managed to get migrants into it somehow. Have a look.
Yes, Superman is an immigrant, and yes, the people that we support in this country are immigrants. And if you don't like that, then you're not American.
So, I mean, obviously a case of Trump derangement syndrome going on there, but why? Is Superman and the ultimate immigrant? He's a fictitious character. I'm sorry to break that.
That'll affect the people who watch that film.
He's an alien.
Yeah, illegal alien.
Yeah, he's an illegal alien. He comes from a planet far, far away. That's a different film, isn't it? But, you know, he's from Krypton. I mean, I don't know if we've got a one in, one out from Krypton. I don't know if we've got some kind
I wouldn't
of deal
send them back there now. I don't want to ruin it for you, but Krypton's gone, mate. It explodes.
Oh, God.
But he is a high-skilled immigrant, so we don't really mind that type coming over here.
That's true.
I think he's bringing something unique.
What's your height? I've got X-ray eyes.
He's bringing something to the party, isn't he, to be fair?
It's all right. Yeah, he's not going to be delivering food anytime soon, is he?
No. It would be quick if he did.
It would be. Yeah, very good.
It wouldn't be cold when it arrived.
No.
He'd be Deliveroo's top employee.
Yes. Anyway, right. Here's my nomination. My fun, and I think this is the winner. I'm sorry to leave it till right at the end. Right.
Why did we bother?
I'm not saying it's the winner. I may seek your counsel on it.
But you're going to decide. It's
doctors. Well, it's doctors. They've just voted doctors to go on strike for 5, count them, days. Right. Now, last year when they went on strike, and they were on strike for a good period, for most of the year, I think, from 2023 summer till July of 2024, Labour got in, gave them 22% of a pay rise and said, we're not going to have any more trouble with these junior doctors. And of course, not only have they now come back for more, but when they were offered more, that wasn't enough. They came back for more in May and they said, we need another 20-odd%. They were offered 5.4% on top of the 22, which takes them to 27 and a bit. And they said, no, we want 29% of a pay rise, which on average, I think for many of them, is about £11,000 because they're not terribly badly paid. Also, they for some reason decided to rename themselves. They're not junior doctors anymore. They're now resident doctors. I'm going to keep calling them junior doctors because I just think it might annoy them.
Call them irregular doctors.
Irregular doctors, yeah. That's a good one.
I think that they, and this is actually a calm response, all that, there's a 22 billion black hole, when the Labour Party got in, and then they added another 11 by paying their union mates. This lot, so political, the BMA. I'm not sure it represents a majority, but the fact of the matter is,
they don't.
I'm loving this. Do you know why? Yeah. Because this is absolute proof that when you give unions a massive pay rise and think you've sorted it, they're going to come. It's what happened the last time the Labour Party in power. I look forward to what West doing. They are a disgrace, and this will turn even more people against them. Absolutely outrageous.
Well, West has actually said, because he said, look, we can't offer you any more money. We don't have any more money.
But it's like the Labour Party in Starmer. If you bend once, they're going to believe you're going to bend again, right?
And he said that he's very disappointed. He's very dismayed. He doesn't understand why they're doing it. Well, he should have seen it coming, really, shouldn't he? And he's also said he doesn't think the public will forgive them. And I think this may be the tipping point about, people in the NHS in this country, because people in the NHS, they'd like to believe in it, but they're more every single week that passes, it just gets worse and worse and worse.
I think they're a disgrace.
And so many appointments. There's going to be millions of appointments cancelled, and they
Not
know...
if you come on a boat, you can see a private GP in 24 hours.
Yeah, that's absolutely no problem at all. But these are people who are supposedly carrying out proper, actual, operations on people. People have been waiting years sometimes to get these operations. And when they went on strike last time, they very rarely went on for 5 whole days, because the longer you do it one day after the next is when it creates much worse.
They know exactly what they're doing in terms of the time of year and everything. They've had a 22% pay rise. They're still saying that it's backdated, blah, blah, blah. I can't believe... I'd love to go out in the street. The support for them, there can't be any support. I don't care anybody, apart from the usual activists in the past.
No, there'll be the usual activists, and most of them will man the picket lines.
Yeah.
And nobody...
It's just see if Labour are tough, though.
Well, Labour say they haven't got any more money to give them. But something's got to give, because they can't let them strike for a long time, can they? I mean, these people, the BMA have said, we have no choice but to strike without a credible offer to keep us on the path to restore our pay. No doctor wants to strike, and these strikes don't have to go ahead.
Blah, blah,
well,
blah.
so they're just blackmailing people, aren't they?
But there is a cynical part of me that thinks this government's struggling with how much it's going to cost to pay pensions and things, and the doctors go on strike. They've already brought in assisted dying. Let's get the doctors off for a week and see what happens.
Yeah.
At the end of it, the welfare bill is going to be lower.
Yeah.
Well, I further. I don't think doctors should be allowed to strike. I think it should be like the police and the army, sorry.
They shouldn't be allowed to strike. This is going to be absolutely horrendous.
People say that they go into that profession because they want to help people. They're not in it for money. They're there to save people's lives.
Yeah.
But they are if they go on strike again, they are literally ending people's lives.
Yeah.
More people will die. The number of excess deaths in the NHS, if you compare our stats compared to if you put the same number of cancer patients in other countries' healthcare systems, so many more people would be alive today if it weren't for the state of our NHS. Labour are boasting about the fact that they have started bringing the waiting list down, which they have a bit, to be fair, but it's
not really,
it's still way higher than
like
pre-pandemic levels.
million
So we have still got a huge mess to sort out.
It's still more than 7 million. They brought it down by about 300,000. Which is literally a drop in the ocean. And all this BS, as I say, about this, bringing more appointments to the table. Every time Starmer opens his mouth, they've made another million appointments. It started at 2, then it was 3, now it's 4. But they're just making appointment after appointment and not actually keeping those appointments. And that's why, I've got loads of people that ring in and say, oh yeah, I've already had 4 appointments for one thing. And each time, just before, about a week before I'm supposed to have it done, they cancel it. So that's where they're getting all the appointments from. It's like me saying, I'm going to travel around the world and I'm just buying a load of tickets, but I'm not actually going anywhere. Yeah. That's what they're doing.
Pretty much all of Labour's supposed achievements in their first year in power are just cases of them playing with the numbers on things. They haven't done anything materially positive for this country.
The plan to move the migrants out of the hotels so the optics look good and go into rented accommodation so that British people won't be able to afford to rent properties and be homeless.
Yeah,
exactly. And then they can boast, we closed down the migrant hotels when they've actually made the state of affairs worse.
Yeah, they haven't closed them down anyway.
These are not people who are genuinely...
They've just turned them into food manufacturing centres, haven't they? That's basically what they're doing. Anyway, right, so I think the doctors win it, unless you guys can give me a better offer. Anybody else?
I find myself in a slightly strange... I completely agree with you. I absolutely agree with you. I think they're an outrage.
Starmer has had it quite a lot.
Angela's had it quite a lot as well.
Hasn't had it that much. Sadiq Khan has always gets it. I just think doctors, in this one particular week, because they're not stupid. They know exactly where to hit the Labour government where it hurts, because they're reeling at the moment. Rachel Reeves is barely seen out in public, whether she's had a make-up job or not. And nobody has any faith in Keir Starmer anymore. The whole thing is collapsing on itself.
I think the British public should. The response to Junior, I don't know anybody that would support that. And also, you're not even thinking about the people north of Watford Gap who are struggling. You haven't had a bloody.
No, they might do.
The backbenchers, they're so emboldened after, despite the Labour Party having a huge majority, they managed to topple this welfare bill pretty much. After this, they'll just defy the government on everything. They'll be out on the picket lines.
They might be out on the picket lines, with some new Marks and Spencer suits, having claimed them on their expenses, no doubt. Absolutely right. Well, listen.
Spelling nice.
So we're going to say the junior doctors. I'm not calling you resident doctors. Junior doctors, absolute planks. Plank of the week. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you to Jeremy. Thank you to Chloe. Thank you to Steve. Thank you to Rafe. We'll be back next week with the same plankery, but even worse. I kid you not. See you there.